My name is Kelly, I'm 28 years old, and I own a small ceramics studio in Portland. I have parents, a younger sister Madison who's 24, and grandparents who actually give a damn about me. Madison works as a freelance photographer, which basically means she takes selfies and calls it a business while living off other people's money. I started my ceramics business when I was 22. I bought a used pottery kiln and a discounted batch of clay with money I'd saved from working at a coffee shop. I worked my ass off for 3 years, building a customer base one piece at a time. By 25, I had regular customers and was actually making decent money. For my 25th birthday, my grandfather gave me a brand new Jeep Cherokee. He showed up at my studio with the keys and said, "A master needs reliable wheels for hauling supplies and getting to markets." I cried. It was the most thoughtful gift anyone had ever given me. That Jeep meant I could go to farmers markets, pick up clay supplies in bulk, deliver large orders. It changed my business. That's when my mother started talking about family balance. What that actually meant was that everything I owned became community property. It started small. My parents would come to my studio and take ceramic bowls, vases, mugs, whatever they wanted. They'd give them to their friends as gifts, bragging about how they were handmade by their daughter. They never paid. They never asked. They just took. "We're promoting your business," Mom would say when I brought it up. "Word of mouth is valuable." Then Madison started asking to borrow my Jeep for weekend photo shoots. At first it was occasional. Then it was every weekend. Then the Jeep basically moved in with her. She'd post selfies with it, posing next to it like it was hers. Her followers probably thought she owned it. When I needed the car for a farmer's market, I'd text her. "I need the Jeep Saturday for the downtown market." "Can't, I have a shoot planned." "You work at your studio anyway, just use Uber." I called Mom to back me up, big mistake. "Kelly, you hardly drive anywhere." "Madison has important client meetings." "Can't you be flexible?" "It's my car, Mom." "Your grandfather gave it to the family." Then the financial requests started. Mom called one afternoon while I was loading a kiln. "Kelly, honey, can you cover our mortgage this month? It's $2,300. Your father's hours got cut and we're short. We'll pay you back when our tax refund comes, we're family." I transferred the money. The tax refund came and went, I never saw a dime. Then it was utilities. $400 here, $250 there. Always with a promise to pay me back when Madison landed an advertising contract or when their next check came. The money never came back. "You're a business owner," Dad said when I asked about it. "You shouldn't worry about small amounts like this, we're family." Small amounts. Thousands of dollars were small amounts. Then I started noticing weird charges on my business credit card. $299 for Instagram post promotion. $149 for follower growth services. $89 for some influencer marketing tool. Little charges, $30 here, $50 there. I called the credit card company. Turns out Madison had somehow linked my card to her marketing accounts. She'd been charging her business expenses to my card for months. I confronted her. She barely looked up from her phone. "I'm promoting your studio too. You should be thanking me." "Madison, you're charging my card without permission." "It's marketing," Mom said it was fine. I called Mom, she backed Madison up. "She's drawing attention to your work, Kelly. That's priceless. Why are you being so stingy?" I started keeping a spreadsheet. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every unauthorized charge. Every tank of gas for a car I couldn't use. Every piece of pottery my parents took, every order Madison placed on my accounts. The numbers were ugly, really ugly. This year, Mom posted in our family group chat about Thanksgiving. Everyone needs to contribute $350 for catering. Madison can't because she's investing in her content, so Kelly will cover her portion. Kelly also needs to pay the car insurance since she owns the Jeep. I stared at that message for a full minute. I was supposed to pay $700 for Thanksgiving, cover insurance on a car I never got to drive, and just smile about it. I typed back, I want my Jeep back. And Madison needs to stop using my card. Mom called immediately, how dare you be so ungrateful. Your grandfather gave that car to the family. No, he gave it to me. You're being selfish, Kelly, we're trying to help each other here. Help, when have you helped me? She hung up. Last Saturday, I took a taxi to my grandparents' house. I had samples for an autumn craft fair, and since I couldn't use my own car, I paid $35 for an Uber. My parents and Madison were already there. Grandma had made dinner. Everyone was sitting around the table when I arrived. Kelly, Grandpa stood up to hug me. Then he looked confused, where's your Jeep? Before I could answer, Mom said calmly, Madison uses it now. She works a lot, and Kelly just makes pots in her studio. She doesn't need it. The table went quiet, Grandpa's expression changed. He looked at me, then at my mother, then back at me. When did the car I gave Kelly for her 25th birthday become Madison's car? Mom laughed, oh, Dad, it's not a big deal. We share in this family. I gave that car to Kelly specifically for her business. For hauling supplies and getting to markets. Kelly can use Uber, Madison said, scrolling on her phone. Grandpa's jaw tightened. Grandma was staring at my mother like she'd grown a second head. But Mom and Dad just kept eating and chatting like everything was normal. Sunday morning, I woke up to a new group chat, holiday strategy. Mom had typed out a whole plan, family booth at the holiday market. Madison does photography, Kelly provides ceramics, Dad handles logistics. Profit split, 60% Madison for marketing and the original business idea, 20% to family fund, 20% Kelly for materials. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. I was supposed to make all the products, and get 20% while Madison got 60% for taking pictures. That was it, I was done. I called Grandpa, can I come over? I need advice. Come now, he said. An hour later, I was sitting at their kitchen table with my laptop, showing them my spreadsheet. Every transfer, every unauthorized charge. Every piece of pottery taken. Every tank of gas for a car I never drove. The total was over $15,000. Grandpa leaned back in his chair, looking at my spreadsheet on the laptop screen. He was quiet for a long time. Kelly, you're a very kind person, Grandma said softly. Maybe too kind, but it's time to be tougher. Even with family. Especially with family. What should I do? I asked. Take back what's yours, Grandpa said, all of it. The car, the money, your business. They've been stealing from you and calling it love. That night, I went home and got to work. I changed every password I had. Email, bank accounts, credit cards, business accounts, social media. Everything. I closed the joint checking account I'd opened years ago when Mom said it would be easier for emergency transfers. I was the primary holder, so I just shut it down and moved the remaining balance to my personal account. Then I pulled up that spreadsheet and spent 3 hours turning it into a proper PDF document. Every mortgage payment with dates and amounts. Every utility bill. Every unauthorized Instagram promotion charge. Every tank of gas. Every piece of pottery taken. Every single dollar over 3 years. It came to $15,247. I attached the PDF to a message in the family group chat. This is a complete record of all transfers and unauthorized charges over the past 3 years. Total, $15,247. I am demanding the return of my Jeep Cherokee by Friday at 5 p.m. If the car is not returned, I will file a report with my insurance company for unauthorized use of a business asset. I am also revoking all access to my accounts and credit cards immediately. Do not use my cards or accounts again. I hit send and put my phone face down on the table. It started buzzing 30 seconds later, I let it buzz. Finally, I looked. Mom had replied in the chat, "Are you seriously threatening your own mother? Over money? This is disgusting, Kelly." Madison chimed in next, "You're acting like a child over a car, grow up." Dad added, "We're family, family helps each other." "You're being selfish." I didn't respond. I just turned off my notifications and went to bed. Friday came. At 5 p.m., I stood in my driveway waiting, no Jeep. By 5:30, it still wasn't there. I called my insurance company. "I need to report unauthorized use of my vehicle," I said. The agent took down all the information. The Jeep was registered to me, insured under my name, for business purposes. My sister had been using it for months without permission. They opened a case file. At 7:30 p.m., Madison's car pulled up to my studio. She got out, walked up to my door, and threw my car keys on the table. "There, happy now?" I looked past her at my Jeep. There was a fresh scratch along the passenger door. "The tank's almost empty, by the way," she said. Then she got back in her friend's car and they drove off. I walked out to the Jeep. The interior was a mess. Empty coffee cups, fast food bags. Makeup scattered across the passenger seat. The scratch on the door was deep, down to the metal. But it was mine again. The next morning, I loaded up the Jeep with my ceramics and drove to the farmer's market downtown. I'd missed 3 months of markets because I couldn't get my own car. Now I was back. I was setting up my table when Grandpa showed up at 9 a.m. He walked around my display, picked up 4 ceramic bowls, and paid full price for them. "Beautiful work," he said, loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Then he sat down in the folding chair next to my booth. At 10 a.m., Dad appeared. He looked uncomfortable. "Your mother is very upset," he said. "I'm not discussing the money anymore," I replied, arranging a set of mugs. He opened his mouth to argue, but Grandpa stood up. "She's working, son, let her work." Dad left. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom, "I gave birth to you. I raised you. You owe me, you owe this family. How dare you treat us like this?" I showed the text to Grandpa, he shook his head. "Don't respond," he said, "there's nothing to say to that." Sunday afternoon, Grandpa called. "Family meeting tomorrow. Angelo's Cafe, 2 p.m. Everyone's coming, be there." Monday at 2 p.m., I walked into Angelo's Cafe. My parents were already there, sitting on one side of a big table. Madison was next to them, looking annoyed. Grandpa and Grandma were at the head of the table. Grandpa had 2 folders in front of him. I sat down across from my parents. Nobody spoke. Grandpa opened the first folder. It was my spreadsheet, printed out and highlighted. "Kelly has been supporting this family financially for 3 years, he said. She's transferred almost $15,000 for mortgages, utilities, and other expenses that were never paid back. She's also paid approximately $2,500 in Madison's business expenses without permission. And she lost access to a vehicle I purchased specifically for her work for almost 3 years. That vehicle was a gift to Kelly, not to this family." Mom started to interrupt, but Grandpa held up his hand. "I'm not finished. What you've done is theft. Theft by deception and theft by use." "That's ridiculous," Mom said, "we're family." Grandpa turned to me, "Kelly, what do you want?" I took a deep breath. "I want all charges to my cards and accounts to stop immediately. I want a repayment plan for the money that was taken. And I want boundaries. My business belongs to me, only me. I won't be supporting the family anymore." "Kelly," Dad started. And, I continued, "I want it understood that my car is mine, my studio is mine, and my products are mine. Nothing gets taken or borrowed without asking." Grandpa opened the second folder. Inside were legal documents. "I've set up a small trust fund to support Kelly's business. It's enough to rent a proper studio space and buy a second potter's wheel. This is to help her grow her business without family interference. Mom's face turned red. You're encouraging her selfishness. I'm encouraging work and boundaries, Grandpa said calmly. Dad leaned forward. Once Kelly's business grows more, she can help out at home again. When she's more successful. No, I said, I won't be financing your lifestyle. Not now, not later. We raised you, Mom said, her voice sharp. You owe us. I looked her straight in the eye. You raised me to be useful. I'm choosing to be respected instead. Mom and Dad stood up. They left without another word. Madison followed them, glaring at me. Grandpa slid the trust fund documents across the table. Grandma squeezed my hand. You did good, sweetheart, she said. A few days after the family meeting, I went looking at studio spaces. I found a corner room with huge windows that let in perfect natural light. The rent was reasonable, and with Grandpa's trust fund, I could afford it easily. I signed a 6-month lease on the spot. Moving day was the following Saturday. I called some friends from the local artist community, and they showed up with trucks and muscle. We moved my pottery wheel, my kiln, all my supplies, and my inventory in one afternoon. The new space was 3 times bigger than my old studio. I had room to work, room to store finished pieces, and room to actually breathe. I set everything up and stood in the middle of the empty floor, just taking it in. This was mine. Really mine. Nobody could take it or use it or claim it belonged to the family. Mom tried to reach out a few times. She'd text me asking if I could lend Madison money for new camera equipment. Could I let her borrow the Jeep for a weekend trip out of town? Could I help with their water bill? I said no every single time, simple, direct. No explanations, no apologies, just no. She stopped asking after the 3rd week. 2 months after the family meeting, I used part of Grandpa's trust fund to buy a brand new pottery kiln. The old one still worked, but this new one was bigger and more efficient. I could fire more pieces at once, which meant I could take on larger orders. I also hired a part-time assistant. Her name was Jenna, a college student studying art. She helped with glazing, packing orders, and managing the farmers market booth on weekends when I needed to work in the studio. My business started growing faster than it ever had. Without the constant drain of family demands and missing inventory, I could actually focus on work. I signed a contract with a company called Pacific Handmade Collective. They owned 6 boutique shops across Oregon and Washington that sold handmade and artisan goods. They wanted my ceramics in all 6 locations. It was the biggest contract I'd ever landed. Steady orders, regular income, actual business growth. I made my first delivery to their flagship store in downtown Portland. The owner walked through my pieces, picking up bowls and mugs, examining the glaze work. These are beautiful, she said. We'll take twice as many next month. I also started taking custom orders. A client reached out through my website asking for large decorative vases in Greek style for his country villa. He sent me reference photos of ancient Greek pottery, the kind with black figures on red clay. I spent 3 weeks on those vases. I researched traditional Greek pottery techniques, practiced the designs, fired and refired until they were perfect. When I delivered them, the client was so happy he wrote me a bonus check for $800 on top of the agreed price. These exceeded my expectations, he said. I'll be recommending you to everyone I know. That bonus felt better than any amount of money I'd ever given my family. Because I'd earned it. Nobody had taken it, nobody had demanded it. It was mine. During those months, I didn't hear from my parents or Madison at all. Complete silence. Part of me wondered what was happening with them, but mostly I didn't care. I was too busy building my actual life. Grandpa called me every week to check in. We'd meet for coffee and I'd tell him about new orders, new clients, how the business was expanding. He'd smile and nod and look proud. You're doing it right, he'd say. Building something real. One afternoon, about 4 months after I'd cut them off, Grandpa mentioned my family. You know Madison moved back home with your parents, right? Couldn't afford her rent anymore. She's back in her old bedroom. I sipped my coffee and didn't say anything. Your mother also stopped hosting her Sunday tea parties with her club friends. Can't afford it anymore. Okay, I said. Grandpa watched my face. You don't feel bad? I don't feel bad, I said honestly. I let them use me for years. I gave them money, my car, my products, my time. They called it family. But it wasn't family. It was just them taking and me giving until there was nothing left of me. And now? Grandpa asked. Now I have boundaries. I have a business, I have a life. And I'm not sorry about any of it. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good, that's real good, Kelly. That night, I sat in my studio after hours, working on a new set of dinner plates. The windows were dark, the kiln was cooling from the day's firing, and everything was quiet. My ceramics business was thriving. I had a studio I loved. I had friends who respected me. I had grandparents who supported me without trying to use me. And I had myself back. I finished the last plate, set it carefully on the drying rack, and cleaned up my workspace. Tomorrow I had 3 custom orders to start and a delivery to make to Pacific Handmade. I locked up the studio, got in my Jeep, and drove home. The tank was full. The interior was clean. The scratch on the door was still there, a reminder of what I'd taken back. I was doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. And I'd done it all myself. 6 months after cutting off my family, my life looked completely different. My studio was fully established. I had regular customers, steady contracts, and a waiting list for custom orders. Jenna was working 20 hours a week now, and I was training her to throw her own pieces. She was good, really good, and I liked having someone to teach. Pacific Handmade Collective expanded their order. They wanted my ceramics in 8 stores now, not just 6. They were opening locations in Seattle and Olympia, and they wanted me to be their exclusive pottery supplier. I had to hire a second part-time assistant just to keep up with production. His name was Marcus, a retired teacher who'd always wanted to learn pottery. He was patient, detail-oriented, and showed up on time every single day. My income had tripled since I'd stopped supporting my family. I had money in savings for the first time in years. I could pay my bills without stress. I could invest in better materials and equipment. I could actually take a weekend off without panicking about money. I bought myself new clothes. Not expensive designer stuff like Madison used to charge to my card, just nice clothes that fit well and made me feel good. I got my Jeep detailed and fixed the scratch on the door. I took Grandpa and Grandma out to dinner at a nice restaurant to thank them for everything. You don't need to thank us, Grandma said over dessert. We just helped you see what you were worth. You gave me the trust fund, I said. That was just money, Grandpa replied. You did all the hard work yourself. You built this business. You set the boundaries. You stood up for yourself. We just believed in you. I teared up right there in the restaurant. They'd always believed in me. Even when my parents only saw me as useful, my grandparents saw me as valuable. I still saw them every week. Sunday coffee with Grandpa became our tradition. We'd sit at this little cafe near their house, and I'd tell him about my week. New orders. New techniques I was learning. Problems I'd solved. He never asked about my parents or Madison. He knew I didn't want to talk about them. But one Sunday, about 8 months after everything happened, he mentioned them briefly. Your mother asked me for money last week, he said. I told her she needed to figure it out herself. Same as you did. How'd she take that? About as well as you'd expect. She said I was playing favorites. He smiled. I told her I was. I favor people who work hard and take responsibility for themselves. I laughed. It felt good to laugh about it. Madison's still at home, he added. Still doing her photography thing, but it's not paying much. She's been complaining that nobody appreciates real art anymore. Your parents are managing. Barely. They had to cut back on a lot of things. But they're making it work. Good, I said, and I meant it. I didn't want them to fail completely. I just wanted them to stop using me. You don't feel bad at all, do you? Grandpa asked. No, I said honestly, I let them use me for years. I gave and gave and gave, and they just took and took and took. They called me selfish when I finally said no. They said I owed them because they raised me. But raising a kid is the bare minimum. That's what you're supposed to do as a parent. It doesn't mean your kid owes you their entire life and paycheck. Grandpa nodded, you're absolutely right. I feel good, actually, I continued. I feel confident, I feel capable. I can defend my boundaries now. I don't let people walk all over me. And if that makes me selfish, then fine. I'm selfish. You're not selfish, Grandpa said firmly, you're healthy. There's a difference. That conversation stuck with me. I wasn't selfish, I was healthy. I'd set boundaries, and boundaries didn't make me a bad person. They made me a person who respected herself. My business kept growing. I started teaching weekend pottery classes at my studio. 8 students per class, 2 hours on Saturday mornings. It brought an extra income and connected me with the local art community even more. I was featured in a Portland lifestyle magazine as one of the city's rising artisan businesses. They did a whole photo spread of my studio and interviewed me about my journey. When they asked if I had family support, I smiled and said, my grandparents have been incredible. They believed in me from the start. I didn't mention my parents or Madison. They weren't part of this story anymore. I started dating someone, too. A guy named Alex who worked at the hardware store where I bought supplies. He asked me out after I came in for the 4th time in a month buying clay and glazing materials. We went for coffee, then dinner, then a hike. He was kind, funny, and had his own life and interests. He didn't need anything from me except my company. It was refreshing. Life was good, really, genuinely good. I had a business I was proud of. I had friends who respected me. I had grandparents who loved me without conditions. I had a boyfriend who liked me for me. I had money in the bank and a future I was excited about. And I had boundaries. Strong, healthy boundaries that I defended without guilt. My family thought I owed them everything because they raised me. But I didn't owe them my dreams, my money, my car, or my self-respect. I'd spent years being useful to them. Now I was choosing to be happy for myself. And I'd never felt better. Every time I sat at my pottery wheel, shaping clay into something beautiful, I thought about how I'd shaped my own life. I'd taken something messy and formed it into something strong and whole. That's what boundaries do. They don't break families, they break cycles. And I was done with that cycle for good.